It doesn't have the extra, but I'm okay with that. Extra green pasta salad, take 1. I'm Baraghani, and we're at the New York Times Cooking Studio Kitchen. Today we are making my extra green pasta salad. I think it was my first recipe for New York Times Cooking, so I'm very, very excited to make it. The goal for this recipe was really to just kind of convince me that pasta salad is a great, great thing. I've had so many bad pasta salads, and I think I hear from a lot of people that it either doesn't have a lot of flavor or texture, they're using the wrong kind of pasta, so I wanted to come up with a recipe that kind of solves these problems and make it really, really beautiful and very green. I love using rigatoni with the kind of ridges you'll see. You'll see both with and without. The ones with will kind of catch the sauce really nicely, but if you like fusilli, campanelli, even orecchiette would be really nice with this because they kind of catch the peas, the snap peas, and those pieces of Parmesan really nicely. The way I salt my pasta water is that it should be quite salty. You're gonna see me add quite a bit of salt, but it shouldn't taste like the ocean. That was something that I think people kept on saying over and over. But for this, definitely I like to do 3 very large, I wouldn't even call them pinches, but like mini handfuls. Now, if we were cooking this with a sauce in a pan, then you would really cook the pasta just a few minutes before it's al dente. But because we're just gonna be tossing it with the pesto in a bowl off heat, you're just gonna cook it all the way through to al dente. So while the pasta is boiling, we are going to make our sauce. So this is just 1 garlic clove, which may not seem like a lot, but that garlic is only gonna concentrate as it sits with the pasta. So just be aware, start with 1 garlic clove, make this recipe. If you want it even more garlicky, add 2 cloves next time. And then we're gonna add a ton of spinach, all this basil. As you can see, this is a good way to kind of use up a lot of greens. The spinach has a mild sweetness to it, so you still get that basil flavor because it's stronger. And then the white miso. The white miso has a salty flavor to it, but it also will add kind of a Parmesan effect, even though we're not adding Parmesan to the sauce. Lemon zest. The juice will add a nice kind of tang to it, but it's the zest that really adds that kind of extra lemony flavor to the sauce. And I think that's another thing that I have a little bit of an issue with. I shouldn't say issue, a big problem with most pasta salads is that there's not a lot of balance. It's either too fatty, too creamy, or it's too acidic. With this, it's that lemon zest and juice creates a nice balance to the kind of fattiness you get from the big piece of cheese and obviously the olive oil in the sauce. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. It could probably take more, but that white miso is already salty, so we'll taste and adjust. And a good amount of pepper. If you're super traditional, you would make it in a mortar and pestle. We're not doing that here because this is clearly not a traditional pesto. With a food processor and a mortar and pestle, you get a lot of kind of texture, but with this sauce, I want it to be very, very smooth. This is not the type where you have to kind of slowly mix the olive oil in. All right, let's taste it. Very, very smooth, really nice and green. Even though there's so much more spinach, the basil fully comes through. The spinach really adds that kind of creaminess to this sauce. If you want it more acidic, add more lemon juice. It is already so nice. It's really an all-purpose sauce. It's great for this pasta dish, but I think it would be delicious on grilled steak, salmon, tossed with potatoes. So we're gonna slice our Parmesan. Not only do we want the kind of flavor of the Parmesan to come through, you also want the actual texture. So I like thick slices. Different types of pecorino romano, sourdough, Toscano would be great. But I think a firm aged cheese would be best. And when I think of pasta salads, it's something that is delicious right away, but also delicious hours later or the next day or a few days later. And a firm cheese is gonna be able to hold up more than a fresh one.
Favorite pasta salad, pasta shape?
I do love rigatoni as long as it has the ridges, which is what we're using today. I think campanelli is just like a chic pasta shape. Fusilli would be delicious because it does an incredible job of catching so much sauce and so many ingredients. Orecchiette does a fine job. I'll just say that. Our pasta is al dente. We're adding our snaps. We are adding our frozen peas. You don't need to thaw them. And this is really just 20 seconds. just so they turn bright green. Let's strain them. We're gonna give them a little bit of a rinse. Not something that I typically do with pasta, but we're just trying to kind of prevent them from cooking any longer, the pasta and both the peas. All right, so we have our pasta and peas, we have our sauce, we have our cheese, and now we're gonna toss. All right, so you want a kind of large bowl where you can really easily mix the pasta with the sauce. But you can see how not only green, but how creamy this sauce is. And that just tiny bit of miso does a lot. It still has some residual heat. That kind of warms that raw garlic in the sauce. And so you smell that garlic right away. Tiny bit of salt. And then we'll add our big piece of Parmesan and just another toss or two. The cheese doesn't have to be fully sauced. You still want to make out those pieces of cheese. So here's our beauty. I think she's a winner, and it smells so good. And see, this is why I love those ridges on the rigatoni. You really get so much sauce with each pasta. I mean, I think most pastas just immediately are gonna make you happy. It does have a very kind of light, springy, but perfect for summer feel to it. This is to making better pasta salads in your future. For my extra green pasta salad recipe or any of my other recipes, click the link below for New York Times Cooking.